Hello, love. Welcome, family. Welcome back. Thanking each and every one of you for being here with me, whether live or on the replay. I'm just going to give it a few minutes, just a few minutes here as we check in. Getting the camera situated as well and the microphone situated, doing a little bit of a check. There we go. So I am inviting each and every one of you as we slowly gather to put a little comment in the chat here as to where you are across Mama Gaia. I'm curious. Time difference is an interesting thing, isn't it? We're going to be covering quite a bit here today in terms of the energy that we're moving into with this solar eclipse new moon in Aquarius and how this is playing out for the Empath Starseed Collective. I posted a video a few days ago here on the channel, and it had to do with essentially getting ready to move into right relationship, specifically for the Empath Starseed Collective. There's a big shift afoot. The Venusians have been talking about this for a while now, and it's culminating into essentially they're sort of calling this a new love portal. Now, specifically, the new love portal has to do with new paradigm love codes, which empath starseeds are essentially here to embody, to bring forward, to teach in a way, to be examples of that in relationships that they are in. Okay. When I closed out that reading, which once the video is processed here, once this live video is processed, I'm going to link it up here and I'll put it in the description box as well. I'm inviting you, and the Venusians as well are inviting you to take a look at that video if you have not watched it yet, because there's some really great information, confirmation, and activation in that particular video. And this live is going to be a bit of an extension of that, because when I was closing out Sacred Space after doing that particular reading, I was shuffling the Island Time Wellness Love Oracle cards, which is one of the decks that I was pulling from for that reading, which I have here today. And a bunch of cards popped out very energetically, and I was guided to keep them out for an upcoming pick a card reading that I'm going to be posting to the channel within the next couple of days. They had me leave these cards with specific crystals charging on my space deck, which is essentially this kind of altar space, working space that I have here in front of me. Okay. And they specifically had me keep them out for this live, because if you're here with the live or you watch this on the replay, this is working in tandem with the Empath Starseed Collective update message and the pick a card reading, almost like a series. Like they're showing it to me in terms of volumes. So here's the thing. We have very active, full, busy lives. And it's important that we are carving time out, how they're showing it to me. A lot of pink energy coming through for this, a lot of higher heart energy, really being aligned, in alignment with the energy of our heart, the portal of our heart, and also embodiment of higher self is wanting to come through with this as well. In the actions that we take day to day, that show how we, in fact, are embodying, in a sense, the spiritual, because the spiritual is in everything. The spiritual, and funny enough, in that previous reading, in the Empath Collective Starseed, the Empath Starseed Collective update, the Devil card came out from the Everyday Witch Tarot. And the higher octave of the Devil card was one of the focuses of that reading. And what that is essentially understanding that in its highest octave, the energies of Capricorn, the energies of the Devil key in the tarot, the fact that it's number 15, the fact that it adds up to a 6, right? This is about embodying the spirit in its most exalted sense. And this is exactly the kind of energy that is resonating right now with regard to right relationship. This is all about embodying this in your relationships and your actions matching your energy, your actions matching your thoughts, your words. The clarity of your being is how they're presenting it to me. Okay. So, going back to the way this is coming through in volumes, it's coming through in volumes because we're being asked to integrate this step by step, to not get overwhelmed with it, and to also understand that this is a huge confirmation for a lot of us when it comes to the shifts and the changes that are already going on in our reality. Okay. So, having said all of that, I'm going to get to the cards that popped out from the Island Time Wellness Love Oracle cards. We had the Mask come out, not showing your true feelings. Hide, personify, pretend, delude, and gaslighting. That was the first card that popped out. Twin Flames came out. Yin Yang, Zen, balance, union, duality, coupling, complement each other. Sunglasses also came out. Watching, looking, stalking, gaslighting, perception, and focusing out. And stabbed in the back, heartbreak, pain, separation, deception, and shocking attack. Okay. And at the bottom of the deck, we had Axe, which also came out in that particular reading, the previous one for the Empath Starseed Collective update. Breakup, separation, stop the pattern, and silent treatment. And they really want me to focus on this one because a lot of what is aligning to this eclipse energy and this kind of amplified new moon in Aquarius, there is a new cycle that's taking place because we have axed something. And they gave me with that a play on words, axe and axis. So the axis is shifting because of what you have axed. And a big part of what's being transmuted right now is the masks, the gaslighting, the being stabbed in the back, so that you are actually aligning to right relationship. There is also an interesting thing going on with twin flame energy. Now, there's going to be a lot of truth coming out essentially around what is a twin flame, because there is a lot of, I'm hearing the word propaganda around what a twin flame actually is. And that's where they're leaving it for that. Now, before I get into expanding on these energies, what's being transmuted, what is essentially going on right now, I want to get to the notes that they gave me before starting the live here. Okay. So I also want to mention here that in that Empath Starseed Collective update, collective energies kind of reading, there was a focus specifically as well on Venusian, Hadarian, and Pleiadian starseeds. I'm also getting those of you who work with water. I'm also getting the energy of the whale and orca elders wanting to come here, come through as well. And I also heard in that particular message, light workers of love. Whatever that might mean to you is how they're presenting it to me. But specifically, what I get with that is a lot of energies around Christ consciousness. A lot of people or souls who may not necessarily identify with being star seeds, yet they hold new earth, new paradigm love codes. So they may be very connected to the lineage of the rose. They may be very connected to the energy of the Essenes or ancient forms of Christianity. Mary Magdalene, Mother Mary, the divine feminine in Christianity. I'm hearing that's been under lock and key. So all of these are very specific things that might resonate for you as well with this particular message. Okay. So I heard them focus again on aligning to right relationships, also holding others and yourself accountable, understanding that now you choose, taking up space now in your relationships, especially the intimate ones. And then they had me look up intimate. They're like, get the definition of intimate straight here, because when we hear intimate relationships, for some reason there is a proclivity for people to believe that that is sexual in nature, when in fact it's not. The root of this is feeling a sense of belonging. Okay, so they specifically gave me the phrase degrees of intimacy, close familiarity or association. I can't read my writing here. You see what I'm saying? Nearness. Okay, this is what happens when I start channeling stuff. Nearness in friendship. So feeling a sense of closeness in friendship and belonging together. And specifically, they had me emphasize here a feeling of belonging. And then they gave me the word sublimination. Now, we're not going to get into that here too much, but they're planting a seed here in a way. They're putting a bug in our ear around this particular word. Sublimination, essentially, is a kind of purifying process. There is a psychological, this is a very, in psychology, sublimination is a very specific term, okay? But what they really wanted me, look that up if that's pinging for you. But what they really want to emphasize here is the act of heightening or improving, of exaltation or elevation and purification. So essentially, sublimination is a purifying process. And right off the bat, they use this term in chemistry, right? Right off the bat, I'm like, this is alchemy. This is what it's all about. So part of why we're moving into this energy of right relationship is because we've done the work of sublimination through relationships. We've gone through the ringer. I'm hearing gutted and gutter. And we're taking these energies now and we are subliminating them. That's the invitation that we're being given. This portal energy is going to be very supportive of that. I also heard them say the love you carry with you that you don't even realize you do. And acknowledging the fact that you are an absolute like beam of love wherever you go, and that you are going to be seen for that. That's what this right relationship is. I also had Ashe-Asha come through, this beautiful Lemurian priestess energy. And I heard her say around that, words left unspoken. So she was talking about this in regards to something that came through the Empath Starseed Collective update message, where it was about remaining in connections where you're no longer being valued or seen or more deeply understood. And this could be one of these things, this could be interchangeably these things, a combination of these things, or all together, and how this stagnates your energy. So more of us are coming to a realization of that. That's sort of what's happening right now. We're understanding at a deeper level that this particular type of relationship is no longer sustainable, essentially. And there's a very specific message here coming through around really feeling like you feel like you've done the work, you feel like you've done the processing, you feel like you have done the healing, and you're like, okay, this has just been a collective energy that's been coming through a lot lately. Feeling like okay, I've done it all. What now? You know? So this energy is also something that's being asked to be subliminated, to be purified, to be improved or exalted. Now, Ashe-Asha, she had me go to Rebecca Campbell's Rose Oracle and shuffle. I thought one card was going to come out, 4 came out. She wanted me to keep them both and not look at them and not look at the bottom of the deck and connect these to the 4 Island Time Wellness Love Oracle cards that came through from the previous reading that I was asked to keep out. Okay. We're going to get to those in a second. I'm just going to check in and see where everybody is at here and say hello again if you're coming back. Hello, Stephen. Hi. Give you lots of little hearts here. Thank you for being here. Thanking each and every one of you for being here. Also, I want to invite each and every one of you as I go through the Rose Oracle cards that have come out here with Ashe-Asha. I invite you, if you have any questions regarding this right relationship, okay? Hello, Jose. Hi. Thank you for being here. I hope you can see my little hearts. I think Stephen confirmed that last time. Thank you. So what I want, I'm inviting each and every one of you, if there is, oh, beautiful. See, you're putting in, thank you, Cape Town, South Africa. What time is it there? What time is it there, Stephen? Are we like in a similar time zone? Why do I feel like we're in a similar time zone? I don't know. I mean, so Jose, you're in California, right? Okay, so we're in the same time zone. Amazing. Yeah, it's the same time here in Greece. Yep, 21:23. Time is such an interesting thing, isn't it? Yeah, very cool. Very cool. It's so cool how, like, how many hours would it take for me to get to Cape Town, right? Like, so many hours, and yet we're still in the same zone, which is cool. Very, very cool. That whole lateral thing, that's a thing. I'm gonna get it off into a whole other topic here, but yeah. Jose, you're in California, right? Are you in California? I think we have a 10-hour time difference. Is that it? Time change, man. It's like the weirdest, most coolest, weirdest thing ever. You know, goes back to this whole thing about time being an illusion. Anyway, concepts of time. So while we're going through these particular cards, I'm inviting each and every one of you, if you feel there's a question you want to ask about this specifically related to the energy of right relationship. Yes, I am in Greece, Stephen. I am in Greece. If you are, you know, if there's some kind of questions that have come up, if you've watched the Empath Starseed Collective energy check-in, if you have your own questions with regard to just what is this? If it's something specific in terms of what's going on right now with you in relationships, and I want to really also emphasize here, we're talking about intimate relationships in the belonging sense. So they do not need to be in any way romantic or sexual in nature. They can be, but they're also like friendships. It could even be the relationship that you are having to your work, because that's been coming through a lot. Okay. Jose's in California. Cool. So, yeah, that's 10 hours difference, right? So it's like what? Like 12 there now? Yeah, 12:30-ish kind of thing? Or maybe no, what am I talking about? 11, right? Y'all do the math. You got it. Okay, so I think it's really cool that we're all connecting here. I just want to acknowledge that for a moment, and I want to thank each and every one of you for being here. Right across Mama Gaia, little beams of light right across Mama Gaia, you know? Soul family and networks right across Mama Gaia. I keep on seeing lately visuals, like I get imagery come in a lot. This started in 2020, actually, where it's a very similar vision that I get of almost little diamond lights, like sparks of light, um, and a web, like being connected between those lights. It's kind of hard to describe. I can go into detail on it, but for the sake of staying on, point here and focus, essentially it's showing a divine matrix that we are all like a light network, is what Spirit is saying to me, that we're all connected. Stephen, oh no, sorry, that's you, Jose. I was in Athens and Santorini in September. Did not know you were in Greece. Beautiful country. Yes, I am in Greece. You were in, I think you had you mention that in the last chat, I think, or the second last one? Yeah, because I think you mentioned that, something about being in Athens or Greece, just in general. That's very cool. That's very cool that you visited. Yeah, so we weren't that far from each other for a certain period of time in this physical reality, of course. Um, and it is a beautiful country. I appreciate you saying that. Greece is absolutely beautiful. Not that I'm biased or anything. I'm not, but like it is. And I have people say I know people who traveled to so many different places across Mama Gaia, and they've been to Greece and they're like, there's just something different about Greece. And there is something different about it. There's something different about all countries, but I always very quick little interesting fact here about the etymology of the word Greece. The actual Greek word for the country Greece is Hellas, right? In Greek, the word for Greece is Elada or Elas. That's where you get Hellas from. The reason why they put an H in front of the E is because of the way that the vowel is aspirated, and that comes from ancient Greek. So that's why my name, for example, Eleni, in English is Helen, or like it's written in French with an H in front, because there's a kind of harder breath on the vowel. Very interesting, isn't that? And it's interesting how language is very coded in that way, especially Greek. From my own personal experience, obviously, knowing modern Greek and very briefly studying ancient Greek and still kind of on that journey, there's a lot of ancient Greek words still in the Greek language today. So the word for Greece in Greek is Elada or Elas, okay? And it essentially means anytime, and this is even what's really interesting is that I've read that El in Hebrew also pertains to God, right? Some kind of energy, really to spirit, right? To God. And El in Greek is connected to light. So it's interchangeable, right? Las or lava, right, is stone or earth. So when you translate that, it's the land of light, or the really imagery wise, it's this image of the sun hitting the rock or the stone or the earth here. And if you've ever traveled to Greece, and Jose has, right? If you've ever been to Greece, there's something about the light here. And especially in the summer, when we have longer hours of daylight, the way that light also hits the water here, I'm curious because I think Greece has like one of the longest coastlines in all the world, right? Wherever you go in Greece within an hour or two, like you're close to water, you can travel to water. So there's also this energy of that biophoton and light hitting water as well here. So I'm curious if there's any kind of connection to that, because the rabbit holes around this, right? Like the amount of learning in a language and the way that words morph and change is really fascinating. There's coding in them, and I remember years ago when I was living here and teaching English as a second language, I had a parent who had told me that he was very well versed. They were a lovely family. They had a lovely kid too that I was tutoring at the time, and he had told me that That's what he was saying. And it was really interesting just to hear. It made sense to me, right? Because I always think about light here in terms of decibels, like decibels of sound. But I have a little bit of synesthesia, so sometimes, like, my senses kind of, like, overlap a little bit, I can it's like you hear light, you know? So, does anybody have that? Maybe add that in the chat or in the comments, I don't know, watching on the replay. So, yeah, there is something about it here. Um, but I'm curious if that's in other countries too, and maybe it's just a different form of that, but it's very interesting, the etymology of that word and the fact that that word is the name for the country. So it would be really cool if people, saw that and made a connection to that in some way. Yeah, so that's really interesting, and I'm curious, Stephen, if you've been to Greece, because I know that you had told me once that you have Greek background or you have Greek origin in your lineage, right? Because your last name, it kind of looks Greek, if that's the name that I'm seeing on the handle here. It's kind of got a Greek ring to it. I don't know. Sometimes I get that. It could just be sometimes I get like an energy coming off of someone. Maybe you had a past slash parallel life here too. And that could be a thing as well, right? So if you would like to share that, you can put that in the chat. Now I'm going to get to the cards now from the Rose Oracle deck. Okay. So I have not seen these. Yeah. Whispers of Mother Earth, creativity, ideas, inspiration, artist, writer, and channel. That's the first one coming out from the Rose Oracle here. And she's asking me to put that under mask. Let's get to the second one. Codes of the seeds. The blueprint is within you. Take the next step. That's going under twin flames. And you know what's really interesting? Look at the yin yang in twin flames and look at the image here in this particular deck. A lot coming through with that. Let me get to all the cards for a second. Hold on. The wasteland, sustainability, slow down, tend to your garden. This goes back to the energy that was coming through in that other collective update with regard to making sure your cup is full first. The Ace of Cups had come out in that reading, and that's going under sunglasses, watching, looking, stalking, gaslighting, perception, focusing out. Immediately with that, I'm getting an energy here of making sure that you are focusing out and moving back from a distance. I'm also getting the energy of shielding yourself from any energies that are no longer sustainable, from any relationships that are no longer sustainable. Okay. Rose without thorns. You have a right to your joy, peace, sweetness of life. And that's going under stabbed in the back. Heartbreak, pain, separation, deception, and shocking attack. And Mother Rose is at the bottom of the deck. Returning to each other, compassion, humanity. Okay. I'm also getting here that those of you watching and those that are going to be watching this in the replay, a line to this reading is about you holding these codes within you, the unity codes, compassion, humanity, returning to each other. And this is one of the reasons why some of us are actually having a hard time axing certain relationships. Ooh, this is a big one. This is a big one. So, and spirit has been, and please share if this is something that's been coming up for you. Spirit has been showing me, I would say, more intensely the last 2 to 4 weeks or so, like about the last, I'm hearing 21 days. Thank you, Spirit. Periodically, faulty concepts around unity consciousness and how that's affecting empaths and empath starseeds. Many of us are grappling with, well, how can I hold this concept of compassion and humanity and unity and at the same time separate, and I'm putting that in quotation marks for a reason, I will get to that in a second, separate myself from people. I'm going to hold this axe card up again because it's significant. Okay. So what I'm getting with this is that we see the axe here. It's coming through a lot as a weapon. Okay. The axe is a tool. This is what I'm hearing them say. We have to understand that the axe is a tool just like any other tool. It is how you wield it. It is how you use it. There is nothing inherently bad about the axe. Ooh, and about the act of separation is what they're saying to me. While we've heard or hear this, I'm hearing rhetoric around separation being an illusion. If we're looking at it from the perspective of energy is in everything and we are all connected and we all come from a unified source, we also need to understand that the concept of separation and differentiation is neither inherently good or bad. It's like a tool, is how they're showing it to me. And I'm literally seeing like a golden axe. And now I'm seeing a cornucopia with like fruits in it. Oh, okay. And now they're giving me fruit of the loom and they're showing me the Mandela effect. And I'm hearing perception with that, perception, consciousness. Oh man. And I recently just rewatched The Matrix again. And it happened because I have this app. It's like on the TV. It's like a TV Mate app. I don't know if any of you are familiar with that, but basically they have like these 24-hour channels where they play certain films on repeat. And of course, The Matrix was there. So I was like, of course I'm going to watch The Matrix. And it was the first one. And there's a scene. The scene that I caught was when Neo and Trinity and the gang go back into the Matrix right before, no spoilers here, but they're going back and essentially, okay, if you haven't watched it and you may as well like maybe put it on mute for a second. I don't know. But this is where there's a scene. You know what? I'm just going to describe the scene. There's a scene where Neo is back in the Matrix again. And they're in a building now, and he walks past the doorways. They're going up the stairs, and he sees a black cat, and the cat goes rare and like licks itself. And then you see him and he whips his head back around and he sees the cat doing it again. And he goes, oh, deja vu. And then Trinity's like, what? What did you say? Deja vu? And they all start freaking out. But of course, Neo's new to this. So he's like, why is everybody freaking out? And she's like, are you sure? Are you sure? Was it the same cat? Or was it like, are you sure you saw exactly the same thing? Like, describe it, right? And then she proceeds to tell him that deja vu is a glitch in the Matrix when they change something in the program. And now I'm being shown that this is essentially what the Mandela effect is. Okay. And that we have to understand that it's not about someone controlling, like I'm getting Wizard of Oz energy here. Like there's this one man that's behind the curtain and, he's controlling everything. Or like any of you are students of philosophy, Rene Descartes and the machine, the one controlling thoughts or something is what I'm hearing with that, or it's something similar to that. This is not what it is. It's actually about a frequency shift, is how they're showing it to me. Okay, so when we go through frequency shifts or changes or energetic, I'm hearing upgrades, which is like a system reboot, which is a lot of what's going on right now, especially with this solar eclipse, new moon, Aquarius energy. especially around relationships in the broader sense. But again, Aquarius is about friendships. So we're talking about intimate one-on-one friendships here, right? And how this is happening on a very, very broad level, a very collective level. So when we go through these energetic upgrades, what happens is we begin to see the glitches. We begin to understand the glitches, and we understand that how perhaps we were seeing something was not really, they're not even saying it's not the way it's actually always been. It's because you're actually alchemizing and transmuting consciousness. You're shifting it as your awareness shifts, and you begin to see something like the axe and separation in terms of context more than anything. And it's not this absolute thing anymore. And one of the things moving forward that we're going to definitely be looking at is these weird ideas around unity consciousness. First and foremost, being about just this idea of you got to be neutral all the time and not stand for anything. I don't know where this concept came from. All right. But it's okay. So they're showing me that a lot of it has to do with your own awareness and your own level of understanding and level of consciousness. And that's not to shit on anybody. Like, I'm not saying it in that respect. It's just that when you have a much more expanded awareness around various concepts, you start to see them much more nuanced and much more in terms of the context in which these concepts are existing. So the idea of separation for an empath, depending on where that empath is in terms of their consciousness and awareness, can be something that they really struggle with, because it's like, well, if I'm supposed to be this like loving person and forgiving and compassionate, then I should be able to just like accept everybody for who they are and love on them and accept it and not feel the need to cut people off. But the problem with that is when, again, we get into these situations where we are being undervalued. And this is the thing that they keep on talking about like crazy, because it's about, and I keep on hearing the word appreciate, appreciate, appreciate. So think of that word in terms of money. When something, or assets, something appreciating in value, it appreciates in value because of how it is deemed worthy or how it is valued and seen as valuable. When something is not seen as valuable, it depreciates. And that is exactly what's happening to the energetic makeup of empaths when they continue to remain in situations, in connections where their energy is not being valued or appreciated. Because the opposite of it not being appreciated, how they're presenting it to me is it's depreciating. It's depreciating. Okay. I'm going to put a little pause on that because that was a lot and I'm starting to sweat coming through. Let me just take a little bit of a breather here and check in with the chat. Stephen, I haven't been to Greece yet, but I'm planning on visiting. Yes, definitely. And check in with me because it would be really cool. I mean, depending on where you are and stuff like that. And wherever you feel drawn to, if you need any tidbits, if you need any whatever, you got a connection here. Love the Matrix, and I love the Matrix too. Funny enough, it was so crazy how beautifully synchronistic this was. So Thursday, I'm out for lunch with friends and family, and there's a group there of some people who are friends of my friend, essentially, and my really good friend. And basically, I don't know how the Matrix came up, but it came up in conversation. And one of the people in the at the table was like, I still don't really like, what kind of message were they trying to say in this movie? And then he goes, the one thing that I really took away from it was this whole idea of technology and taking over. And I go, yeah, I said that's part of it, definitely, definitely. And then, and then, and then, of course, me, you know, being me, uh, turns around and goes like, The Matrix wasn't just a movie, it was a documentary. And they're like looking at me. It was a really great moment. And I'm like, yep. They didn't say anything. I go, and I repeated it. I'm like, it's a documentary. And that was that. And then they didn't say anything. Yes, Stephen. Yes, definitely let me know. And I'm going to send hearts. Okay. So, any questions you might have coming up around this? Any kind of things around these love codes, these new love codes? We can get into it. Put that in the chat. I'm going to get into the cards now for a moment, and then I'm going to be popping from the Energy Oracle cards and the May You Know a Whole Lot of Love, because it was Valentine's Day yesterday. Love is every day, but I'm feeling, obviously collectively there is a thing going on with that. Plus, we also have Saturn in Aries and these astrological shifts that are going on. For empaths, a lot of this is centering around, again, new cycles and more exalted or subliminated understanding of relationships. Okay? Because we've done the legwork. So it's happening for us as empath starseeds, especially. Okay? So, another energy that's been coming up a lot is this energy of creativity. And I can't help but make a connection here to theater in the very literal sense of theater. Okay, because we've got creativity, ideas, inspiration, artist, writer, and channel. And then we've got the masks. You see that? So, art reflecting life and your life being put into art. This is one way that we alchemize these energies. This is a very specific message for some of us in terms of how we sublimate this energy, how we purify this energy. I cannot emphasize this enough. This has been a huge part of my own journey personally. I have a background in writing. I have a background in theater. I have a background in broadcasting. I have a background in a lot of creative things. So for me, my biggest way that I was channeling before I even realized I was channeling was when I was on stage acting and something would just take over and I would like walk out of there going like, I don't know what just happened. And then when I write, it's the same thing. And the writing is a lot more personal for me. There's something about writing here that they actually really want me to emphasize. So writing, journaling, there's a lot there in terms of being able to process emotion. Also, asking a question and then journaling the answer, especially for empath starseeds who are just wired that way in terms of just wired for intuitively channeling something through their writing or through something they create or a painting, right? Anything, anything. But specifically, like this idea of working with your hands and creating something with your hands. I'm getting a lot of magician energy with that, right? So it's like this energy of, because I'm hearing the word manipulating energy, but not in a negative sense, right? I'm talking about literally like, how are you working with energy with your hands? Because manipulate comes from that root, right? Mano, like it's your hand. What are you doing with your hands? So that's a huge thing. Now, these codes of the seeds, the blueprint is within you. Take the next step. I'm going to say it because it's coming through with this twin flame energy. Some of us are here for divine union, but what I'm actually being shown with that is two forms of divine union, either friendship or through an actual romantic, intimate and I mean, obviously, when I say intimate here, going back on my words, but you know what I mean, where we are actually in a romantic sexual relationship with someone in divine union. So all of these things are exalted. The sexual aspect of the relationship is exalted. It's seen as divine, as it should be. And it's also this energy of the connection and the depth of the connection and the exaltation of that. They want to talk a little bit about that. That's interesting. Okay, they want me to focus on complementing each other here in this twin flames thing. Okay. This is an energy of complementing one another. This is what they want us to focus specifically on for this. Okay. So some of us, we are we're seated with this in the sense of it's in our blueprint. There's sort of an aspect of it being destined in a way, is the feeling I'm getting. There's a soul contract in place for a divine union to exist. And as we move through these portal energies, that's what we're aligning to. So the energy of right relationship, huge. Okay, with that. And then they're showing me take the next step, which means make a move, do something, act upon this. So, simply put, if you're feeling pulled to go somewhere, to do something different, I'm hearing pattern interrupt. Okay, pattern interrupt. If you're feeling pulled to go somewhere, act on it. If you're feeling, ooh, I'm even hearing pulled to behave differently now or to do very specific things differently in relationship when you're meeting people, act on it, do it, embody it, act on it. One very specific example they're giving for me here is this energy of, wow, whoa, of being the observer of how you're interacting with people when you're meeting them for the first time, or people in your circles, or perhaps when you feel there's a certain pull to someone. I'm getting essentially like, this is a really interesting, very specific message of how your actual attraction to someone is shifting. And you're looking back going like, that used to be really attractive to me and now it's not anymore. Whoa, that's really big growth. And it's really important to acknowledge that, especially as empaths, because we're definitely tuned into that, right? And we can also be very sensitive to when someone is attracted to us. And sometimes we can mistake that for attraction we're feeling to them. And obviously, this is something that with the right kind of energy hygiene and shielding and listening to your intuition, because your intuition will never lie to you about that, right? Or elude you in some way. It's probably a better word to use here. But it's like your intuition is going to be the one pinging you, going like, get out. Meanwhile, you're like, yeah, but I feel this kind of connection to this person, like me. But your intuition's like, nope, nope. And the emotions are like, what? Yeah. So we're getting clearer on that, which is really beautiful. The wastelands and sunglasses. So this again is just about focusing out on what is no longer sustainable in relationship, slowing down and tending to your garden, making sure your cup is full first, and rose without thorns and stabbed in the back. You have the right to your joy. I even heard you have the right to say no when I was looking at that. This is the peace after the pain. And this is essentially what we're transmuting, what we're sublimating again, being stabbed in the back. In order to understand that you have a right now to your joy, you have a right now to peace. You don't need to go through any of that anymore because you've gone through it and you've learned. There was nothing wrong about it. You had to go through it for whatever reason. whether it was a soul contract, life lesson, karmic closure, if you want to look at it that way. Okay, I'm just giving it to you in ways that we kind of use the language around it, because karma can be many things. All right. Um, you've done it now. You've experienced it. It's time to move on. And they take the next step. They keep on bringing me back to this. Take the next step. Because in taking those next steps, you're unlocking something within you. In taking the next steps, you are actually activating another potentiality in you, or another timeline, is what they're saying to me with that. Mother Rose, returning to each other, compassion and humanity. I just want to reiterate here the beautiful energy of Mother Rose being here with us in that. Very divine feminine energy, this divine feminine energy of also returning to you. Because when you return to you, you then return to each and every other person that is in alignment with right relationship with you. Like, there's no other way for me to really describe it. I think that's what they're, yeah, it's just really what they're focusing on. Any questions before we move forward now? I'm going to, this reading, obviously this live stream, I just want to reiterate here, because I mean, they came in full force at the beginning. So I kind of just went right into it. A little different from the last couple of ones. We're not doing the grounding and tuning in exercise here. This is more of an extension upon the readings that have already been coming through on the channel. So it's kind of like, that's sort of what's going on here. It's very transmission style. And they have directed me to 2 other decks. And I am also working with the energy here of the whale and Orca Agate. So I just wanted to bring that in for a moment here as we get into the last part of this live stream. Because again, the energy of water was coming in very strongly at the beginning here. Ashe-Asha, Lemurian energy, the Venusians connected to water as well. This element of water, of emotion, of nourishing your body with water, of cleansing, of purifying, goes back to this sublimination. It's this energy of cleansing. And as we move into the solar eclipse energy, these are new beginnings, right? Closures and new beginnings. And we're working with the energy of the moon here as well when we're always talking about solar eclipses. There's also the energy of this very pronounced focus of the divine feminine, divine masculine. It goes back to this twin flame, yin yang energy, this balancing that within ourselves, knowing where we need to embrace one over the other, also knowing what works for us in that respect. And when it comes to right relationship, what works for us in that respect. Okay. Because there's a lot of, I mean, for lack of a better way of putting it, there's a lot of crap out there around relationships. Okay. And empaths are just wired differently. Empath starseeds, especially, are wired very differently. We often have to go through um, sort of playing out, but it's not like we're doing it deliberately, where we're like playing a role and being fake in any way, going back to this mask energy. It's not about that. It's about the programming, the indoctrination we grew up with, the lessons we're here to alchemize, the things we're here to learn and experience and grow from. We often will embody very weird concepts of feminine and masculine, distorted, wounded, especially wounded is a big one. Wounded aspects of the feminine and the masculine, and we obviously see that being reflected back to us in what's going on right now, like the world over, and culturally too, culturally as well, where we have these really kind of distorted concepts around masculine and feminine and what it means to be feminine, what it means to be masculine. I'm not talking here about sex here, men or women. I'm talking about the ideas around femininity and masculinity, and feminine and masculine. We have some very distorted concepts around that. And then when the actual healthy concepts come up around that, then they're deemed as distorted. It's like really inverted. And, in many ways, this is being done on purpose to kind of mess with people's heads and energy. Okay. Let's just come back to love. That's really what it is at the end of the day, because that's a whole other topic for discussion. Now, I'm going to pop some cards from the energy oracle cards here. I'm going to also pop from the May You Know a Lot of Love for each and every one of you who are here in the live. This is specifically for you and anybody who's tuning in on the replay. In terms of the steps, in terms of any confirmation that wants to come through, put that in the chat if that's coming up for you. Any messages, any activations that might want to come through on behalf of the Venusians. And I'm also hearing Ashe-Asha wanting to come through for that. Okay. So let's see. Moving forward now, messages for our highest and greatest good and in our highest and greatest truth as we move into this solar eclipse, new moon in Aquarius portal. And the first one that came out here was first chakra, Archangel Michael, number 35. The energy of Archangel Michael is very strong with this group. Very strong with this group. 35, that reduces to an 8. A 3 and a 5. These are very masculine energies, funny enough. But it's also energies of creation is what I'm getting. And energies of the self and balance. So, first thing, where do you need to clear some energy? Look into that. Where do you need to uproot some energetic cords? This has come through the last couple of times, right? Also, being a warrior of light, if that's something that resonates you, a spiritual warrior, okay? This is part of your path. This is what you're here to do. This right relationship is literally shedding light, your light, on the new consciousness paradigm codes around love. That's a confirmation for each and every one of you. And you're doing it in various ways. You're doing it through your relationships. You're doing it whether you're teaching about this, whether you're writing about this, whether you're creating things to embody this particular energy. Okay. Also, working with the energies of the first chakra. This is about embodiment again. This is about embodying this in the physical, embodying this in the physical, taking action, the exalted aspects of the devil energy. Okay, where we understand that spirit is in everything. Look what just came out. 25, deceit. An angel of love in reverse. You being a light warrior around these deceptive concepts around love. And specifically, I'm getting a lot of codependency stuff coming through here. I'm getting a lot of empath guilt coming through here. And then reiterating this idea of value, of who is really truly valuing you. Who is valuing what you have to offer? Who is valuing who you are? The energy that you embody. Who's valuing your soul? Like, this is such a huge thing. This is such a huge thing right now. Are people seeing your soul? Like, are they seeing your soul? I came across something recently. I think it was a post by Carnivore Aurelius, I think, on Instagram. I do follow that guy. I think he's hilarious. He's great. Talk about somebody who's being like a radical, changing things in so many ways and kind of shedding light on truth. I don't agree with him on everything. We don't have to. We don't have to. But I do agree with him on this. He posted something on Instagram recently about if the relationship you're in is not making you better, hotter, stronger, more in tune with your emotions, whatever it is. Of course, now they're adding all this stuff in. Then it's not the right relationship. Like, it's as simple as that. If it's not, and the thing is, I realize that with family, but that's a whole other thing that they're bringing through right now. Family, ancestors, that's kind of a whole other thing. We need to navigate those relationships differently. But when it comes to friends and when it comes to romantic relationships, this is really where we choose as empaths. This is where a lot of the growth happens. And especially if you're connected to the Venusians and you got a lot of Venusian energy in your chart. Okay. I mean, Jose, I know you do for a fact because we talked about that. And this is a big thing of what you're here to do. Like, this is huge. This is really big. If you got a lot of seventh house energy, okay. If you got Venus exalted in some way, or like it's at the top of your chart or something, I'm getting like a lot of midheaven stuff with Venus. Prominent Venus placements. This is what you're here to do. This is a huge part of what you're here to do. Venusian starseeds, Siderian starseeds, and Pleiadian starseeds. That's another thing that's coming through. And look, woman holding a coin came out in reverse again. 42. 6. Okay. So what's interesting is recently I was going back to that book that I had suggested to you, Stephen. What's it called again? Oh God, the Dan Millman book. I can't remember. Doing What You Were Born to Do. Anyway, it centers around numerology, and he was talking about the number 6 being a perfectionist number, and it's interesting because it does apply when we're looking at it from a very creative, artistic point of view. And sometimes artists always like trying to perfect their creations, right? Like this idea of like, it's got to be perfect. And we're always tweaking and we're always editing and we're always reworking. And the analogy they're giving to me right now is something that I had heard, and I hear many artists talk about this. I can't remember her name. Anyway, it's this analogy of you create something like when you have a child and that baby is born and that it's out in the world after, like it does what it like once it becomes an adult and it chooses what it's going to do in its life, you have no control over it anymore. Like it's any creation you make and you put out into the world creatively, once it's out there, people are going to interpret it how they're going to interpret it. They're going to see it how they're going to see it. Some people are really going to get it. Absolutely. Some people are totally going to be like, oh my God, this person is speaking my language. And other people are going to be like, what is this? And they're also going to probably interpret it in a way that's going to be really weird and they might twist it. And that has a lot to do with their perception. That's what they're showing me with this woman holding a coin in reverse. Now, this had come through in the last reading with the Empath Starseeds. And one of the energies that was coming around out there very specifically was around a woman who's possibly an earth sign, because this is a woman or has prominent earth placements if you are into astrology, and how there may be difficulties with this particular woman. But what I'm being shown now in this reading and in this energy, this is about someone who doesn't get. This is a distorted version of understanding the physical and the material, and how, as empath starseeds, we need almost by default to connect with people who at least get spirit in some way. This is really important. It's very important for, and this is not to knock on anybody who chooses to focus on different things in relationships, okay? Doesn't mean I'm always going to agree with it, but you know what? Free will is free will, right? So, when we're looking at people who are so, and funny enough, in the last relationship that I was in a while ago, there was such a heavy emphasis in certain ways, in certain areas, on the physical reality, on not seeing spirit in the physical, not seeing the magic of our own energy and our ability to alchemize and co-create and work with energy. Just seeing the facts, seeing the physical. That's going to be a massive drain. It was on me. And especially when you share what you believe in your ideas and the other person ain't seeing it at all. And you're like, now you're blue in the face talking about it. And it's like, well, you know what? At the end of the day, who am I also to want to try and change anyone? And this is very specific to the empath journey and where we can be at certain points in our journey. Who am I to want to change anybody who doesn't want to be changed? Who doesn't want to open their eyes up? Who am I to do that? It can almost verge on ego a little bit. And we have to be careful about when we try and do this, when we try and control. And this is also about being in a distorted masculine energy too, right? And a wounded feminine or distorted feminine, with this woman holding a coin coming up in reverse. You can't change anyone that doesn't want to change. It is essentially a massive drain and a waste of your energy. Now, They're showing me wastelands again. What they want to also reiterate here, though, and I believe this too, I don't really think anything is a waste. I believe that everything is a massive learning experience, and it's all about the story you tell yourself and how you look at it and how you perceive it. But you also need to take accountability. And that goes back to the message that was coming through earlier for this reading. We need to be accountable to ourselves, and we need to also hold people accountable to what they're doing. And when we do that, one of the ways that that looks is we walk away from a situation that we know we're not being valued. Okay. I'm going to get to the final deck here. In the meantime, if there are any questions that you have before we close out this live, I invite each and every one of you to leave them in the chat. I also invite each and every one of you to share anything that might be coming up for you here if you feel comfortable doing that. We're going to do another live again next week, same time, same bat channel right here. So it's going to be, like I said, 9 p.m. Eastern European time or Cape Town time, and Eastern time. The reason why I use Eastern time, 2 p.m. Eastern time, I use Eastern time simply because I know that there are a lot of people who connect to the channel. And I did start this channel when I was living in Canada. So that's one of the reasons why I do that as well. Okay. I may as well just leave it as Eastern European time. Let's see what happens. Okay. So I find love in stillness. Ashe-Asha wants me to pop a few more for this. This goes back to the wastelands energy, slowing down, tending to your garden. Also, spending time with animals. If you have pets or animals, I mean, I don't have a pet, but I have a resident wildcat in my yard. Got more than one, but one very specific one. Understand that sometimes these animals, they also choose you, and seeing it from that perspective and understanding what that is in terms of right relationship. Our animal friends, our animal companions really have a lot to teach us in terms of that. When we're working with energy, because they're working in a different energy and a different frequency. Okay. I listen with love. That's the next card coming out here. I listen with love. Now, love here, going back to some of the messages that were coming through earlier, this isn't about totally accepting someone. Okay, this is a reframe that needs to happen with regard to love. So we often equate love and this concept of unconditional love with being totally accepting of someone and their behavior towards us with no discernment. That's not what it is. That's a distortion. That's an illusion. Listening with love is listening with truth. Love and truth are synonymous in many ways. They go hand in hand. And they're showing me, okay, I always sign off here with in love and liberation always. And that was something that came through very, very early on for me at the beginning of this journey, sharing readings, being online and posting videos and readings. And what they're saying to me is it's exactly that. Love should feel liberating. Liberation, truth, love, they're a very similar frequency. So when you are in a situation where you're listening with love, you're seeing the truth and you're acting in a way that is liberating. And you are also, by way of doing that, helping to liberate the others, what they're showing me, helping others to see the truth. Again, if they want to see it that way. Okay. And this is also an energy of like when you call someone out on their bullshit in a loving way. It's not about reacting emotionally to a situation. It's just about you recognize a pattern, you see the truth in it. And sometimes this can take some time. Okay. I realize that 100%. sometimes we have to have someone do things maybe 2, 3, 4 times, and then we're like, "You know what? You gotta say something about it," right? And you might have the other person going back to this gaslighting, like, that might be the response, right? It's like immediately it's like, "I don't know what you're talking about. You blah, 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 blah," and then it's like this whole kind of it can be a back and forth of you trying to make sense of it and see it from so many angles. One of the things that we really do really, really well as empaths is we can put ourselves in another person's shoes, but what they're showing me with that is that you're not them. So then what it's like what you're seeing. Oh, wow. There's a lot to unpack here. What you're seeing essentially is how you see them through your lens when you're thinking you're putting yourself in their shoes. Is that making sense? Oof, I'm really hoping I'm describing that energy well. It's like you're not actually putting yourself in their perspective because you're not them. And you're doing it through a very compassionate lens. You're doing it through a lens of a lot of potentiality in terms of seeing their potential, but that's not actually what they're embodying, and that's not actually who they are. You can see the potential, and that's part of listening with love and um, speaking from that place of truth. But are they actually embodying that, and are they willing to embody it? Okay. I'm going to pop one more, and then they want me to go at the bottom of the deck, and then we're going to close out this live. Ooh. I choose love over fear. Okay, this is an interesting thing here. I want to talk about this because I think, and I'm not sure, I'm not a student of A Course in Miracles. Are any of you? I'm not a student of A Course in Miracles. However, I do remember hearing once, and again, that basically no, I think I'd seen it actually in a video that sort of did a synopsis on it now that now that I'm remembering. Um, there was basically talking about the basics of A Course in Miracles and how, it's basically that there's really it comes down to 2 things or 2 feelings or 2 understandings of the universe and how it works or energies. It's either love or fear. You're either choosing love or you're choosing fear. And somewhere along the lines, people basically were translating that as love being the opposite of fear. But it's not. Love is not the opposite of fear. I would say that the opposite of fear is courage, really, which is connected to that in a way, if you look up the etymology of the word courage, or, the opposite of fear being, you know, not being afraid. I don't know. But really it's not the opposite. Love is love. Some people might say the opposite of love is hate, but I I don't feel that. I feel that love is really what it is, the all that is. And that's why at the end of the day, I always say it comes back to love, doesn't it? But what is our understanding of love? And especially through our time in, the old matrix, so to speak, through the programming and the indoctrination, how have we come to understand love? And what is the truth of love? These are some big questions. Okay. So, and that's it. We could talk about this forever. All right. Or for a very long time, at least. Okay. Maybe not forever, but you know what I'm saying. I'm just exaggerating a little bit. So, I mean, I choose love over fear. It's about choosing understanding over misunderstanding. That's how it's coming through the energy. That's how I'm reading it here. And it's also about choosing you, making you a priority over the fear of possibly losing someone, them not like, and when I say that, I mean like them rejecting you, you know? Remember, rejection is divine protection. That's been coming through too lately. I share my love is at the bottom of the deck. I share my love. So they're inviting me to invite you to make an intention to share your love in a way that is liberating for you, and to share your love with those that are accepting of that. Share your love freely with those who value you. Share your love unconditionally with those who do the same with you. This isn't about tit for tat. I want to make that absolutely clear. And I realize that I can't get to this all in one video because this is a big discussion. And so many things in the way that I'm talking here can be taken and twisted. We've already covered that, right? Feel into the energy of what I'm saying here. Feel into the frequency of what I'm saying here. If you're attuned to this live and you're attuned to the replay and this video and the portal of this video, you will get this. You will understand this. Okay. This isn't about tit for tat. This is truly about aligning to what is healthy, to what is true for us. Okay. Now is the time. They cannot emphasize this enough. This portal energy is huge. The shifts we're having astrologically, there's even a big shift with Chiron coming up in 2027 that I just came across recently. It was just today. Barbara Ann Clow, she's written that book on Chiron. I have it. Of course, I have not finished it. I have a ton of books that I've started reading. I have not finished. But anyway, she talks about the importance of Chiron in our age. And Chiron, one of the ways that we understand Chiron is, as the wounded healer. It goes a lot deeper than that, though. But this is basically it's the idea that the struggles and the challenges that we go through, the wounds, the traumas, are our greatest gifts. They're our greatest strengths. This is like alchemizing the crap out of stuff, right? Turning that shit into gold. And this is where a lot of it has to do with us really truly stepping into our power, our truth, the power that is within. Okay. And understanding that it's not about these concepts around love that deal a lot with sacrificing yourself for someone else and essentially being walked all over, being a doormat as some kind of form of love, like they're being eradicated. These forms of love they're being asked to be alchemized. They're not real forms of love. And a lot of that, again, comes up around programming and indoctrination, the whole shebang. I hope that this has helped each and every one of you in some way, shape, or form. Just going to check in really quickly in the chat to see if I missed anything. Stephen is writing or has written here, I have my A Course in Miracles on my desk in front of me. Yeah, really interesting. And you know what? I have a copy right here too that it's right here. Opa. My light just went out. Oh, did the candle still stay on? Yeah, but I'm gonna put that back on. It's right here. Okay, so there's something in that because I have a little chalkboard here. And the lamp that I've got here is a foot lamp. You see this? You see that? Turned it back on again. Okay, so that to me is a message of some kind of reset in understanding around what all of this means. And also how you're interpreting it. Oh, and the biggest thing here is that whenever we are reading texts like this, or, any kind of spiritual teachings, tune in with your intuition. Tune in with yourself. Go within the inner landscape. What works for you? What doesn't work for you? We're not going to agree with everybody on everything. And that is okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Do what works for you and feel into the frequency of what this person is offering, of what this person is saying. They may have different practices than you, but it goes back to this axe. This axe. This axe is a tool that doesn't make it good or bad. It's a tool. Everything is nuanced in that respect, and there's context to a lot of things. And then there are truths, right? Like the truth of love. All right. Yes, Jose, true love comes from within. Absolutely. Because we are children of Source, this is how I see it. And Source is the all that is, and love essentially is the all that is. This is a connecting force, a connecting energy that we can all, we're all inherently as souls connected to it. And the more you connect in, the more that you understand. And you know what's crazy? I'm just going to show this because it's synchronistic. Foundation for inner peace is what's at the bottom of this copy here. True love comes from within, inner peace. And that's where you find the connection to this, okay? All right. I'm going to leave it there. Thank you. Thank you, each and every one of you, for being here. Thank you, Stephen. Thank you, Jose, for your comments in the chat. And I thank you for simply being here and incarnating here at this particular time, sharing your time, your energy, and your frequency in this space with us. Okay. There will be a live moving forward. Like I said, next week, we're going to be doing this. Thank you, Stephen. Thank you again, Stephen. We're going to be doing this moving forward for the next little while, is what they've been showing me. And I'm also, like I said, you know what? I'm going to leave this in the comments now moving forward, but I'll put it in the chat here as well. I'm still offering the 33% off discount for the wild card reading if you're interested in that. And I'll put the code for that here in the description or in the chat. But I will be also placing that in the comment section moving forward. If you would like any kind of confirmations, if you're feeling the need to get certain clarity around something, that's what that wild card reading is for. It's for, you know what, I just need a little bit of clarity on this, a little bit of support, a little bit of guidance. Okay. This is my offering to you. There are only, like I said, 7 of these, right? So like at some point they're going to run out. And I'll keep them in place until they do. I'm not going to remove it in any way. The wild card reading is essentially me doing what I really do in each and every one of the videos. So they will be around that length. Like they'll probably, I usually gauge them between like 30 minutes to 40 minutes, those videos. And I basically pop cards for you based on a question. Okay. All of that information is in my Planoly store link, which I include in every one of these description boxes and some of the comments as well of the videos. If you're interested in that, that is my offering to you as a thank you for being here. I'm sending each and every one of you so much love wherever you are here on Mama Gaia. And I know some of you specifically where you are right now in Cape Town and in California. In love and liberation, as always. And I will see you in the next one.